The Supreme Court's decision, what it means for migrants, and the Trump administration's deportation policy. In a bold move, the Supreme Court has given the green light for the Trump administration to deport a group of migrants from Djibouti to South Sudan. This decision came after a series of legal battles over the migrants held at a military base in Djibouti for several weeks. The Supreme Court's recent ruling, announced without a formal written opinion, came shortly after a majority of justices decided that certain migrants could be deported to countries other than their countries of origin, often with minimal notice. This particular case ignited legal contention regarding the specific group of migrants awaiting transfer from Djibouti. Previously, a lower court had issued an order halting their removal, prompting the Trump administration to escalate the matter to the highest court. On Thursday, the Supreme Court's decision supported the Trump administration's stance, despite two liberal justices expressing disagreement. The Supreme Court clarified that the prior order had been fully applied, effectively overriding the lower court's actions. A Massachusetts federal judge had ruled that the Supreme Court's decision didn't apply to 8 migrants in Djibouti because their legal proceedings were based on a different ruling that the administration could not challenge. The group, which includes individuals from Cuba, Vietnam, and Laos, was held in a modified shipping container. The court noted that the order preventing the migrants' removal could not be used to enforce a judicial injunction that the Supreme Court had already paused. Essentially, allowing such an injunction would force the government to act in a way that contradicts the court's decision to temporarily stay the injunction. Justice Elena Kagan, part of the court's liberal faction, concurred with the ruling but voiced her disagreement with the original decision allowing deportations to third countries. She emphasized that the lower court couldn't enforce an order that the Supreme Court had already been put on hold. Spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin from the Department of Homeland Security highlighted that the migrants would be relocated to South Sudan by Friday, coinciding with Independence Day, describing it as a victory for rule of law and public safety. Attorney General Pamela Bondi took to social media, celebrating the court's decision against what she called a rogue district judge, praising the efforts of the Department of Justice lawyers and asserting that President Trump would continue to use his authority to remove dangerous individuals from the country. However, Justices Sonia and Ketanji Brown-Jackson expressed strong dissent, arguing that the administration's actions could expose the migrants to severe human rights abuses, like torture or death, in South Sudan. Sotomayor also criticized the court's handling of the matter, emphasizing that while other litigants have to follow the rules, the administration seems to have an expedited path to the Supreme Court. This ruling marks a significant victory for the Trump administration's deportation efforts, particularly in the context of repatriating migrants when their home countries refuse to accept them. But here's where it gets controversial. How do we balance the need for strict immigration enforcement with the principles of international human rights, especially when third country deportations are involved? Could there be a better approach to handle cases where migrant safety is at risk? Share your thoughts in the comments. It's a conversation worth having. Stay tuned for updates on how this unfolds and its implications for future immigration policy.